So I've covered this event a couple times, and when I was younger attended this event as a child multiple times growing up. To me, it always seemed like not just a celebration of the game, but it seemed like a celebration of the professional athletes, the celebrities, just everybody coming together, almost like a fraternity in a way that everybody really looked forward to that aspect of it. Can you speak to the social aspect of this event and how much you look forward to that part?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the player meeting on Wednesday is one of the more humbling places you could possibly put yourself in. Everyone does something at a really high level in that room, and so it's a really cool experience to be a part of. It's a really cool thing to be a part of. To continue to get invited back is really an honor. I mean, it really is. I mean, because there's, I mean, so many athletes or friends that I've met over the years that have asked me, how do I get into Tahoe? How do I get, and guys that are really good at their sport, or were really good at their sport. So never take it for granted. The invite, it's the best email that comes through every year around March time. And I can't register fast enough when the email comes through. So very special to be a part of.
I know, I mean, with the amount of professional athletes and former professional athletes like yourself that play in this event, it's fun to see everybody, and I'm sure there's jokes and that camaraderie like you expect. But also, all of you made a career and a life, being competitive.
Yeah.
How quickly does that competitive nature come into play? Is it the first tee box? Is it even during the practice rounds? When does that competition really
Yeah,
start?
not the practice rounds as much. I mean, they're the ones that I got a Monday game that I always play in with the same guys. I got a Wednesday game with the same guys. So honestly, some of those are maybe even more fun to look forward to than the actual tournament rounds. That being said, he's so competitive, right? Like most of the folks here are retired athletes or or I guess entertainers aren't retired, but for the most part, retired athletes, and so trying to get that jumping us out of bed and really excited about a sporting event or something like that is fairly rare in our life now. This does it for us, and so everyone's excited to play.
You mentioned bringing your family here and turning this kind of whole week into a family vacation. I experienced it from the family side just as a spectator, but um, what do you notice from the crowds that come, just the energy that they bring? And if there were Northern California residents or maybe Nevada residents, whoever it may be, who wanted to check this out, why would you encourage them to experience Edgewood, not as a golfer, but as a spectator?
There's a lot of athletes that you're a fan of. If you're a sports fan, that you're a fan of, that you've seen play, and that you can see up close, that you can mingle with, talk to, give a high five to, or something like that. Get an autograph from as a kid. Um, you can get really up close and pretty personal with the folks that play in the event, and it's, to be honest, it's fun for us to interact with the kids and the fans as well. It's a big party, and everyone has a blast. Some of the guys drinking on the course, some guys are, super competitive on the course. Whatever it is, whatever gets your juices going in the morning is what goes on, and it's always a blast to play.
Being a former champion here, having won here, does that bring more confidence onto this course, knowing, okay, I've done this before, I can do it again, or does it bring added pressure?
Um, no more added pressure. I mean, I want to win. I want to play well. I want to beat Tony, but I love playing with Tony. I love playing with Derek and Derek Lowe and Mulder and these guys. Annika. It's just so many. I can just keep going on and on and on about guys that I've been able to cross paths with that I wouldn't have otherwise, and that's what makes it really special.
The views here are what so many people rave about playing Edgewood. Of course, the course is in immaculate
Yeah.
shape, but the views, especially the par three over here that everybody likes to line up for. So much about golf is, I know, getting out and experiencing nature and experiencing the world, and that's the beautiful side of the game. But how much can it be distracting sometimes where you're setting up to hit a shot and you're like, wow, that view's really
Oh,
nice?
it's incredible. I mean, the sound of a tee shot in the trees, or a shot that hits a tree, right? Like, I mean, it's just a different sound. It's just so loud, and the air is so clean up here. Coming from LA, it's a different feel for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, the only thing that kind of messes with you a little bit is the altitude. You know, mess with your golf ball, can mess with your lungs a little bit as well. Can get you if you have one too many pops. Can get you a little quick. So we've been all of us have been there and enjoy it. You know, it's a phenomenal experience every year.
So I have a selfish question. As someone who is in the sports side of things from a media perspective, talking about it and following it in that way, because we weren't necessarily good enough to play it at the higher level. You see Steph Curry, the success that he has, Patrick Mahomes, the success, yourself, former athlete, taking to golf the way that you do. What do you think it is about this game and professional athletes that we have so many that are extremely good at their craft that also can transition that into a talent and a passion for this game?
Something about golf, right? I think it's partly the non-physicality of it, right? It doesn't take a lot of physical energy to play golf, jump in a cart and drive around. Some of our best rounds are a couple beers in us, you know, that kind of thing. And then you can get away with from everything. You can get away. I used it to get away from the rigors of the road and the tour. You know, some of the guys that you mentioned before, they play American dominated sports. So like basketball is all in the States, so Steph only plays in the United States. I mean, like I had to go to Australia and then go to Europe and then come back to the States, back to Europe, back to the States, to Asia, you know, all that. And it's a long year, but it's a really hard travel year as well, just to get on the golf course and just sort of forget about all that. Use it as an outlet and as an escape. And I think a lot of guys sort of lean on the golf course. No one can really bother you as well. Like, it's just, you know, there's only so many people out there that really even see you and they're in your group in the first place. And so, um, you know, you can kind of bring your buddies along and just have a blast with your friends like, like normal. When the other part of your life isn't normal, you know. And so it's a really nice way to escape.
Final couple that I have for you. You won during the pandemic year, and I think that's kind of symbolic in a lot of ways because this game really took off a lot during that pandemic. I know, speaking for me personally, I always had kind of an interest in golf and enjoyed playing it with my friends, not taking it seriously, never had my own clubs. It was the pandemic and getting outside and hitting on the driving range that really helped me fall in love with the sport and want to play it more. And I think there were thousands and tens of thousands around the world that felt that same way. What do you think the pandemic did for the game of golf and how golf helped get us through that time?
It did wonders. I mean, look, being outside, being in the sun, we learned that, you know, vitamin D was really good for us. You know, I mean, we didn't, you know, it was with the sort of lack of positive news, lack of accurate news, I guess, if you will, as well. Like, just to kind of get away from all of it, and sort of forget about it. You know, you could use tennis in that regard as well, just sort of running around, competing. I mean, some of the silly things that they did on the golf course where, you know, with like couldn't pull a pin because it was, you know, COVID was just going to stick to the flag stick, even though it was an airborne illness. You know, they took down the tennis nets, you know, midsummer 2020 because they thought maybe, you know, playing tennis was an issue. You know, so there's a lot of things you can go back on and go, probably wasn't too accurate. But using those, yeah, I mean, using those, getting outside and being able to see people, golf grew like crazy in, you know, during those pandemic years, and has continued to go ever since.
And then finally, one of the realities of this game too is it's can be extremely frustrating, and it'll test you in so many ways. I know, speaking from my experience, I have not been more frustrated in the last couple of years than when I've been on a golf course, and it's more with yourself than it is with the club or the ball or whatever it may be, because you're on your own and in an island in that sense. For those who are still picking up the game or early on in the game, how did you develop yourself into as good of a golfer as you are now, and what's your process of handling bad shots or putting away all the negative thoughts or things like that for overthinkers like myself?
It's hard to do. I mean, golf and tennis really can bring out the mental side of the ugliness of the mental toughness side of sports. You know, individual sports and things like that. Obviously, golf, you get a caddy and you can sort of bounce things or yell at him or bounce things off them. In tennis, we're kind of all out there by ourselves trying to figure it out. But in golf, you're sort of battling yourself in your game and then battling against the course as well. in tennis, it's like just a one-on-one, mano-y-mano sort of thing. You just got to beat one person at one time. So they're 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 similar, but sort of polar opposites in the mental side of it. It's a reactionary sport in tennis, and then golf is more of a, sort of a longer lasting mental side, right? Like you can really dwell on some bad shots, or conversely, you know, not not take advantage of some of the holes that you think you should do well or whatever, and really get down on yourself. But then again, you tee it up. That first tee shot in the morning or afternoon, whatever it is, you never know what you're going to shoot, and that's like, sports best, is closest thing to a drug is golf. Where you're on such a high when you make a birdie, and such a low when you're bogeying or double bogeying holes, and you're so bummed out and pissed at yourself that you could do something like that, but the next day comes around, you tee it up again, and you're like, this could be the round. And this could be the greatest round I've ever had, and you just never know, and so that's why it gets people keep coming back.
It's usually a triple for me. I actually lied. I'm going to sneak in one more really quick. And just in career accomplishments for you, winning at Edgewood, winning the ACC tournament, like where does that rank, or how do you remember that just in your, I guess, professional legacy?
Tennis included.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, look, I played tennis for a living, and it was like I dedicated my life to it. So those probably meant a little bit more. That being said, I've got my Tahoe trophy in the middle of my TV room. Tennis trophies on the outside, and the Tahoe one is in the middle. So, I mean, say what you want. That's I think that says something, and that one's a special one. And look, I mean, everyone knows about this tournament. Friends and family and whatever, just people in general. Hey, have you heard of that? That golf tournament in Tahoe that the celebrities play. Oh yeah, the one on the lake or whatever. Everyone's heard of it and remembered it and seen it from time to time on NBC Sports or whatever. And so it's a special one. When I won that year, I think I had more text messages from that than maybe any tennis match that I had won. So there's that.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thanks for doing it. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Best of luck. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.